Native Americans got rolled over. Yeah, yeah, they did. But everybody knows they aren't done with us. You know, a little loophole appeared with our desires and hungers, you know, the white people and the rest. And where are there more casinos than anywhere else in the world for us to throw our money away on the reservations, on what's left? And it's funny, you know. It's just funny. And it's not bad, you know. I mean, gambling and I mean, there are vices, you know. And there are people who go, oh, that's terrible. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. Spank, 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 bad, bad, bad. Well, they should go watch the Godfather movies and recognize that even the lawless mafiosos had some wisdom, which is that there's nothing wrong really with having vices. It's a question of, you know, how far out you get, and if the world need vices, then we can supply vices and make good money and do a duty for our families and take care of our families. Now that, like a lot of things, that sort of went down the toilet at a certain point in time, because along came people who wanted to promote the vice of drugs, and that's part of the war, you know, in the Godfather movies, between the Godfather's mentality, his family-oriented mentality. You know, and another aspect of the family-oriented mentality in that business was, well, yeah, for business reasons we can shoot each other up, but you don't shoot the families. Well, along came a bunch of people that really wanted to do drugs, and they don't care about shooting families. And so, you know, just like we have terrorists in political situations, the crime business has got terrorists now. You know, they try to rule by terror. And so far they've had some success in a certain sense. You want to know a good movie? I'm not sure I'm going to get the name of it. It might be called The Ant or something like that. But it had this piece of wisdom in it that I think is really very important, especially for the extraordinary ordinary to get a picture of at this point. Now there's some bad insects, and they dominate the meek insects, and the insects are just, you know, running around trying to be ordinary people and create the wealth, raise the children, create the wealth. That's what we do. That's what the extraordinary ordinary do. The banker doesn't create the wealth. He sucks it out of the rest of us. We create the wealth. You know, the engineer at the aerospace company creates the wealth. The vegetable picker in California creates the wealth. You know, the corporation that owns that 1,000,000 acres in California that sells us all that horrible food that's been pesticided to death. He doesn't do the thing that the picker does. That food doesn't get to our table without the picker. It doesn't get to our table without the truck driver. It doesn't get to our table without the guys working in the grocery stores and the ladies working in the grocery stores and all the different people along the chain by which the food... I mean, nature makes the food. The agricultural business giant doesn't make the food. In fact, their whole attitude is, let's really screw with nature if we can get away with it. You know, they've gone out and released all this biology. But anyway, that's a whole other story. I want to get back to where I was going. At least I think, if I can remember where I was going. Isn't that terrible? We call it early Alzheimer's. It's not that, you know. You get going on a rant and you have a thought and then you steer around it a little bit and you go down to the next thought, and then by the time you've been down that thought a while, all of a sudden you realize, oops, I skipped past something. Okay, let's see if we can create it. You know, we're the extraordinary ordinary. We make the wealth. Oh, yes, the Ant movie. Right. What's the lesson of the Ant movie? Well, finally it gets through one of the ants' head or some of the ants' heads, and they start to realize, with regard to the bullies, which are organized and mean and terrible and nasty, that there's a lot more of us than there are of them. The bully gets you because he scares you. And the bully gets you because you don't want to stand up to him. And the bully gets you because, you're forced with a choice, do I live or do I sacrifice my bodily existence in order to fight the bully for the benefit of my family and my friends? And of course that's what Americans do in these big wars. But now the war is here. The war is in our backyard. And we're going to have aspects of the government trying to bully us. We're going to have aspects of corporations, Blackwater and those big security companies are going to try to bully us. And they're going to be very organized. And of course the survivalist people know that if they take away our guns, we're in a lot of trouble. And don't think it's not going to come around where somebody's going to really get serious about trying to take away our guns. Well, what's the bad thing about the gun? Well, from the standpoint of the bully, the bad thing about the gun is it's an equalizer. His gun is less important if he's in law enforcement taking people's houses from them. I mean, that's not law enforcement. That's corporate wealth greed enforcement. The law belongs to everybody. And if there's people who stand outside it and take advantage of the law, it's not the law anymore. It's something else. It's just part of a system of oppression. Okay? Again, I'm not advocating armed insurrection. I'm just predicting that, the more push the bullies and the bullies that the wealthy hire do on the extraordinary ordinary that the American people is, the more the extraordinary ordinary people are going to push back. And if crime lords want to come into your community, let's say you've got a problem with methamphetamines in your community. And you want to see a movie about it, what's it called? It's on TV. Timothy Olyphant plays it. Bad, good cop. Justified is the name of it. Or watch that thing on one of the cable channels about the bikers. Extraordinary ordinary, There's a place for people who have the capacity to be violent and lawless within our communities, as long as they're also willing to be cooperative with other people and use that capacity for violence and lawlessness against the bullies. There's more of us than there are of them. When the bullies come around, and that's the story of Antz or whatever that movie was, there's more of us. There's more of the extraordinary ordinary. Now, will there be a cost? Will people die? Will horrible things happen? You betcha, because that's what happens. But we have met the enemy and he is us. But we're the extraordinary ordinary. Watch out.